Hey, this is ShaunTyas. We're in my studio here in Switzerland. I'm going to be taking you through today some of the work I've been starting up on a new remix for a track called DNA by an artist W&W. And then after that, I'm going to show you how I did certain elements of certain tracks I've done in the past. The lead on a track I've just finished, a remix of a track called Verano, and also the bass line from myself and Simon Patterson's track, Something's Up, the bass line that comes in off the break, and a lot of people ask how that bass was made. So I'm going to get cracking and show you how all that was done. First thing I usually do when I get a remix is I'll dive over into Recycle. This way I can get my loops and stuff like that, because I love going into Recycle so that loops stay really, really rock solid. Every other sequencer, Cubase, Logic, they have their little ways of doing this, but I still find the old school way of doing it with Recycle and breaking the loops into hits. It works way better, and I'll explain why when it comes into Logic. So I took two loops, basic Recycle files, and I will just export them now, just like so. So we got loop 4 and 17. So I'll go jump into, give myself a new sampler instrument. I guess, and if you're in Cubase, you would use, I use Logic 8 and 9. I say 8 and 9 because 9 is really, really buggy still. So for this particular demonstration, I'm using 8 because when I tested this morning, 9 was showing lots of great signs. So yeah, we're just going to load a normal sampler, XS24. And if you're a Logic user, you know XS24 is more or less one of the easiest ways to go. Recycle, convert, extract MIDI region, make new instrument. And what this does is it breaks your Recycle loop into hits across your keyboard, making it really easy for you to also to rearrange your loop rather than cutting audio and whatnot. Doing it this way is, in my opinion, way more efficient, because not only do you get to do that, you get to do something else, which I'll show you in a sec. Recycle export. 4. So now we have a loop in. So now the loop is loaded in the sampler. So very basic loop. But I don't really want the claps. The beautiful part about this is you could just take those notes out and you have it really, really basic. Then you could take, for example, a compressor to make the hits more, just make them feel a bit longer. So for that, I'll take the Waves Renaissance compressor. And it's really, really immediate too. I like this as well because this is one of the few compressors I know that lets you clip it without, they actually got like the soft saturation effect on it. Like when it turns yellow, you're good. When it turns red, you're actually clipping, which is nice. So perfect. First, I guess I'll show you some of the parts that were given for the remix. The original track has a main lead melody that goes like this. So that's a pretty basic melody. I mean, everything's on straight eighth notes, very dead mouse style note placement. Probably a lot of you have a lot of room to work here, and that's the main theme of the whole track. There's an intro ARP that goes. It's exactly what it is, intro ARP. That'll actually work out really nice, putting in a cool effect on it or something. Bass line. This is going to be. It's a cool, definitely a cool thing, but I don't think that would really make much of a bass line. I'm going to take it more and use it as a mid bass, like just a supplement for the bass that I'm going to add in. What other parts would be actually interesting? Okay, they're calling this an acid. I'm not really sure why that's acid, but it's definitely a cool sound that I'm going to be using. I've actually already laid that out in the track. So yeah, I have one track of just that. Pan. Why is that loop still playing? So that's pan to the left, and then I took another copy of that and actually reversed it and then shifted it over. So this way you have both. And it just creates a little bit better of a stereo feel. So one's playing in forward, one's playing in reverse. I've already started loading in basic stuff of mine, like basic kick. I don't know if there's anything on it yet. Just a basic EQ. Basic closed hi-hat. Quick hats loop, which I'm probably going to end up really, really side chaining. There's also all these loops and stuff like that, were recycle files. So you would have all these hits are at full velocity. And the beautiful thing is you don't have to do cut audio and then turn down volume. You can just turn down the velocity of the hits. It automatically makes these hits much, much more quiet. It doesn't interfere with the kick drum attack, which is exactly what we're going for. So much better this way. It's going to get sidechained anyway, so when it's in the final thing. And then it'll really clean it up a bit. The kick's got too much bass on it. Let's see what else. Basic clap. And delay off another synth, love to keep going. Offbeat bass. Very simple bass. We'll get back to the actually fattening that up when I start using the Renaissance bass plugin on the bass and the kick. And I got another mid bass here. And this one's gonna be really cool. Really like that. I love this plugin, Discovery. There's not too many things it does amazingly, but what it does really, really good are like very, very cool phased bass lines. When you turn on the chorus and the phaser together, it creates a really unique texture, and it brings life to a lot of your mid basses, which would be very static otherwise. Then you got long hi-hat, long open hi-hat, and a really unique snare, which I'm probably going to layer like another kick over that. I mean, another clap over that, because it's lacks a lot of high end and just needs a little bit more hiss on that. So we'll be definitely getting another one to layer over that. And then we have the electro loop. So I guess we can start looking at the parts now and start bringing them in. We already brought the acid in. Okay. Always keep your parts really, really glued. Keep them nice. I think in a lot of other sequences you have other ways of doing this, but in Logic you just hit L and it loops the part indefinitely until it hits something else on the track. Cubase you can just duplicate parts really easy. It's all really the same, but I like to keep the parts really nice, grouped big, so that when you have to move sections of the track around, it becomes a little bit easier to do so. See, the cool thing about this, doing the loops this way, is that in the sampler, it's so much easier than just importing a Rex file or a loop in, where you have so much more control this way, because you could change all the timing of the tuning. You could do filtering to each individual hit with an envelope, as opposed to just filtering a loop completely. You could actually put an envelope on it, and it's just so much better, and you get really, really unique sounding percussion this way. Let's say, for example, if I want to put a bandpass filter on a percussion hit. That's actually pretty cool, but I think it just needs extra hits. So we're going to use hits that we already have to fill space. guess, yeah, I mean, it's a tough loop to work with. Okay, we'll come back to that loop. It seems like it's going to be a bit problematic to mix that in. There was one other loop I had ready to go. Let's see what that sounds like in the mix here. Okay. Could be pretty cool. I guess we can kind of leave that. Better. And still the best thing about Logic is its amazing sidechain routing ability to just always sidechain everything. I believe even Cubase 5, you can still only have one source of sidechain trigger. That's pretty weak. But the one thing about Logic, the reason I almost refuse to even switch is because it's just so easy to trigger off so many. I always put, I don't know why it's always on track 2, but I always put, I always take a kick drum. It's actually the first thing I do before I even do anything. I'll take a kick drum and I'll put it in a sampler. I'll take the sustain to 0 and make decay very, very small. So you only hit just basically a little bit of a tap. It's not even a full kick. It's just very quick, just the attack phase of a kick. Some people can, I mean, you could also use a closed hi-hat or whatever. Some people take a full kick drum. And I actually think that's wrong. I don't think really you should take a full kick drum because some kicks are shaped really funny and it'll trigger a compressor actually twice per kick drum. It's just easy to just make it very, very nice, tight cuts, and that'll make the compressor trigger here, and it's already releasing by the time what you really, really, where you want it to release for. You'll get a much better effect, and yeah, so try to keep your sidechain triggers obviously muted. Don't use them as the one that you actually hear in the track. Always make one that's muted, and use that as your trigger, either a closed hat or a short kick. So now we have that triggering it. I don't like that one there. Okay, we've just rearranged the loop really. I mean, we've dropped the kick and the clap velocities a bit, and now it'll fit in the mix a lot better. Not even too crazy about that other loop. Okay, we're back to the square one over here. Okay, for house people, this is probably going to be a little bit boring because it's just, it's not one of my more rolling basses, it's not one of the more rhythmic basses, it's just an offbeat bass line. This is going to fill the sub area. What I normally do with the offbeat basses, and a lot of people ask how I get my basses to be really, really fat and round, especially in the club. The best thing to do is a plugin by Waves called Renaissance Bass. It's the most immediate to use plugin I've ever used in my life. Like, okay, it's a little bit, the effect is too much there. I'll just down the volume. It shouldn't be clipping anymore. That's all right. And so we're still too loud. And then this can come. And it just normally gets the kick and bass to agree a lot more. Sometimes I use it on the kick, sometimes not. It depends on really the kick. As you can hear, does that versus. There's a big difference of bass. And let's see how it sounds on the kick. I'm curious about that. First the kidding. Okay, he's clipping like crazy. Gotta get everything down. Okay, he's really clipping. That's okay now. It's weird, and the kick drums usually just low. The intensity is all different. Sometimes you actually lower the intensity to negative. Sometimes you have to raise it. It depends. But usually for kick drums, I find myself lowering it, and for basses, I push it up higher. And it's really that immediate. You don't have to do anything else with the other two sliders. Usually, it's usually for what our needs are, and we're trying to boost up the 80 hertz region, which is going to be the region that you're going to really feel in the club anyway. That's basically what you need. You leave the frequencies at the same, and it gets them to agree on that frequency, provided you're not like overlapping them. As long as you're just, if you have either the bass either has to be sidechained if they're going to play at the same time, or you do something simple like this where they're not playing at the same time. So that's that. And this would be our first mid bass we're going to introduce. This is not really any lead or anything like that. So we just call it a mid bass because it's just a mid-range bass. And I just use these things. I mean, I actually layer in sometimes 2 to 3 to 4 of them just to beef up the rhythm of the track. Because when it's just the kick and the offbeat bass, it's a little bit boring. So then I work this in usually. And I still find that to be a little bit boring. Let's see. Let's make it more interesting and more moving. So put one of my favorite plugins, the Ohm Force Ohm Boys on it. And this way it just creates a lot more motion to it. Definitely need a better clap loop. That's going to be layered in as well. Let's see, I should have one ready to go. I think that's it. Okay. I was instrument 12. And this is an easy clap to layer in and give it a lot more power. Much better. Now we just turn off the bass. This is just messing. Let's get all our drums ready. So usually I try to sort out most of my drums and stuff like that before I get cracking with all the melodic stuff, the bass and the pads and whatnot. Turn that up as well. get that extra texture. Okay, and then of course in trance, you know, you have your very long reverbed, delayed crashes and effects and stuff like that. So let's go hunting and see what we're going to be using for this particular track. I've already loaded in a crash. I think it was dry at the moment. Then, so I'll take a crash. Fine, delay, add a stereo delay to it. So just give something for the reverb to feed off of. And then my favorite reverb plugin, the Arts Acoustic Reverb. I don't know why it's my favorite. I haven't tried that many, but for me it's always worked in the mix, so I just kind of stuck with it. So we're gonna, and we should have another sound effect to help with the crashes when the crash is not enough. That's gonna be a really messy noise, but it can be cleaned up very, very easily. So we got, that's nice, clear out the bass end. FabFilter Volcano 2 has some really, really interesting things you can do other than, because obviously it's just a filter, but it's got some other things you can do on the phaser and flanger settings. Some really cool stuff. And you could, you know, for a filter, it's pretty, that sounds pretty good. No. I think I'm gonna go with that second setting actually. And that sounds pretty good. And then we could take that and then throw it even better. I think this will go to tons of reverb as well. Okay, that's basically long enough. That'll work cool for an extra effect. Sweet. So, way too loud though. Okay, cool. I guess with the basic parts I have here, yeah, I guess we could start kind of like piecing it together a bit and just doing the basic general skeleton, and we'll just kind of add parts to it and carve it in as we go. So obviously we start the kick, keep it mixable for the DJs, very standard. I'm going to try to get to the end of this part as quick as possible for you guys because this is the boring part of any track, the first minute. Actually, in fact, I'll just skip it completely anyway because everybody knows the way it's going to go. I'll come back and make the intro later. So. Actually, don't even like that first clap anymore. Good enough, I guess. And offbeat. So now we start with the fun stuff where we actually put all the track through tons of transitions and stuff like that as we build it and introduce other elements and things. So I'm going to add another Volcano 2 off the Fab filter and put it on the master channel strip. This is a question a lot of people ask me, how to do the transitions and whatnot with the stuff, so I'm about to show you. Volcano 2. For a setting, I just go with clean, start it anew, and then set it to high pass. So this way you can high pass a track as, you know, to give it the impression that when it does drop on the next section of the track, it'll feel like the volume actually went up, or it feels like the bass went up, but it doesn't. It's just that you filter off the bass for the whole 4 to 16 bars before No, I'll just show you. So, keyboard shortcut. There. No wonder. Huh. There we go. I had changed my keyboard shortcut for the automation button because it was really annoying when you hit it and it shuts off all the automation and I had to go. But either way, that's another tip for Logic users. You should change your keyboard shortcut for automation because there's no doubt that you probably hit the A quite often by accident. It's really annoying to get it all back. Filter one frequency. It's really easy, but I mean, most people don't even bother with master effects and whatnot. I think there'll be the bus groups and stuff like that, but there's nothing wrong with filtering off your whole track. So yeah, then you basically have this. As you can see, then the filter goes up. It's better if you also chop some of the parts up. Take this, go with that. And as you get in, just chop it off for like a kick. Just a kick's length just before. Maybe the kick, bring 2 back. As we get our parts nice and neat. Okay, so now this should actually sound pretty decent without the kick constantly going. Good, actually way better. There's a sound effect on it. Still some shit playing. Yeah, that should be better. Okay, we'll bring in the intro ARP. No, it was the intro acid, I believe they called it. Bring in that now. We probably should bust them both together and make and filter them. And just filter them in, I guess a low pass filter in. As you can see, I use this Volcano plugin a hell of a lot. It's just so easy and it's really good. It sounds good. It sounds better than the filters on most of my synths. So right now I'm just automating the bus 2, which is I've routed those sound effects, the acids, to bus 2, the forward and the backward ones. Bus 2 I've put another instance of Volcano. So this way, now the way it works is that this way they'll both get filtered by the same filter, and it'll just kind of help because the sound is kind of big and abrupt. So this way it'll kind of smooth out the introduction of the sound into the track. So this way we started with a very... You can barely even... I think they're already a little bit too loud anyway. Better. More interesting. Okay, I gotta keep copying parts over. Okay. So now I'm going to create an additional master effect on the master channel of a delay. Basically, it's the same kind of thing as if you're on a Pioneer DJ mixer and you're going to turn the delay setting on and just going to do the effect mix. It's pretty effective. It saves DJ a lot of extra work to have to do it every time. So tape delay, we're going to just automate the mix of it. And shoot it up over here. That sounds fine. You can just filter it a bit too when it does that. And of course, as just like before, cut it at the better kick before, or however you want to do it. I'll do one kick this time. Okay. That's the filter frequency of the master and filter resonance of the master. And of course, get the delay mix there. So this is just what I leave on top of every one of my projects is all the automation for the master plugins. If I'm going to automate any master plugins or whatnot, I kind of leave them all up top and I leave them all opened up. So this way you always see in your track which part's going to be affected, so you don't throw any particular sounds that are going to sound funny through these effects, like a vocal, which will kind of sound odd sometimes. Sometimes it works though. Let's see. So then, yeah, there's too much of a delay, but. Yeah, that works. Okay. Okay, so now I'll start adding in elements of mine, I suppose. No, we actually still have a couple of loops to go. This first loop sucked, so we'll use this other one. Extra shaker loop in there, kind of sounds pretty cool. I think that's definitely going to be a keeper in the final version as well. I'm liking the way that adds a lot of groove for when it's just really kind of very tight and rigid to a little bit more swing to it. I like that weird effect in the back. Okay, cool. And did we get all the effects, all the other parts in already? Oh, we didn't actually. We still have an intro up, which I'll still put in for now. I'm going to use their part as a temporary placeholder. Probably MIDI it up at another time. Now I'll probably just do a quick short break. I save all my Logic channel strips as channel strips, which is a beautiful thing because you can save synth with all the effects already on it as a channel strip, and it's kind of really nice way to do it. So it's going to use a sub pad that I have, which basically just made for really bassy pads. We'll go with that. Starting to kick that. We'll fix all that. As you can tell, I'm not the most trained piano player, but at least I know which ones to go back and change them to. Turn the kick off. Feels a little bit too bright. I'm going to turn it down and make it a little bit darker. That sounds a lot better as a cool sub. At this point, I'll probably go back. It's probably a good idea to go back to the parts and see what else we have to work with here. There's really not that much else. It's just the lead, the acids. Yeah, this is all kind of the same. Just got that in there already. Yeah, that's acid. Which one is this? Same exact one. That's it, basically. So now it's basically just, wow, really not a lot of parts here. Easy to work with, though, okay. Okay, so I'm thinking maybe do a quick build up and then bounce out to a more like aggressive acid type part. I'm guessing that would be the way to go. I'm looking for a sample bank I've made that's more just like kind of reverbed and delayed out effect sounds. It actually works really good for a lot of stuff. I just can't find it because I'm not really good at organization. Pitch him up a bit. I think just on that note sounded fine. Everything else sounded like crap. Okay, so then from that point, we'll go to try something like this. All back to the offbeat, bring it back with this. So now I'm just trying to figure out a way to get out of this first little mini break. It's not really a big deal. Once you find something that actually takes it up a level of energy, that's the whole point. Okay, we're getting somewhere. So basically by filtering down that acid as well, going to give it the impression it's going to jump back into position. gonna sound better this way. That'll be cool in a second. It's just like an LFO modulated acid that I have set up over here. It's all done on the ES2. And this actually worked pretty good. And the bass can come out too. So now the whole thing, when you finally get it all together, sound more like this. Difficult to keep this particular pattern really interesting. Gotta add something else. Let's try and make it a little pad as well. So maybe like a simple pad would be the way to go. I guess we could try that. Better that way. Okay. Now we'll just chop these notes up and quantize them a little bit better. These were incorrect, these were correct. Cool. Ton of reverb on it too. With pads, you kind of always have to add a massive reverb, but this one doesn't need a ton. And for that pad, we'll actually automate the filter cutoff to make it open up. Let it wait all the way till there. sounding good, except that this bass shouldn't be playing anymore. And apart from that, looking good. I guess we'll start making little tweaks and stuff to the actual main melody here now. And this way we get our theme for the break, and this way we can figure out how we're actually going to move past and finish the rest of the track. Okay, so we have the original lead audio part from the original track right here. This is what that sounds like. Very straight. So now I'm going to try to start layering stuff on top and possibly build up enough stuff so we can replace it in the remix. So we have one part off the virus that sounds right here. Sounds cute. We could probably tweak it a bit more today. Am I not actually hitting the right? Ahaha. Okay. Okay, that sounds nice. A little bit epic, but I guess that's what we're going for anyway. This is trance. And we'll probably still try working another one as well. And it was the same. That sounds horrible. This is more like the original one. It always makes me feel better as long as if I can make the original lead or get close to it. No. Maybe that's what I was doing wrong. Maybe it needs to be 2 different octaves. Let's try that. Too much noise. Getting there. Still too much noise. The cool thing about the virus is actually the EQs. They look very, very limited. They're actually not really limited. They're put really in good spots, especially the way the high, mids, and lows they work. It's not like a normal EQ where you can boost the EQ to unlistenable levels. It's basically, even if you max out a gain, it's still a very listenable and pleasant high. It doesn't really. I'm guessing it's telling me, yeah, right. It's telling me plus 16 dB, but if I boosted plus 16 dB on a normal EQ plugin, it would sound atrocious. So yeah, I guess that's just their version of 16 dB, but it sounds really good still. So I guess we'll just layer the 2 of those together. Do the mixing for this particular sound. I guess we'll just mix it directly on the virus itself. Okay, so we can mute the original part, and now we have to patch in the sub bass, but I guess the same one that I'll use in the first mini break. We'll go with that, so I think the notes are, I can't really play it so loud. It's not it, that's it. So take it, it's not really a big key change, but should be fine. Yeah, the original bass line just does the beginning part. I'm just gonna change one note, so it keeps a little bit more variation. You should go further to the end. I guess I can try doing a piano over that. Not necessarily use a piano in the finished product, but the piano will actually let me write a decent melody over the top of it. Because this is more or less just really just a chord progression broken into eighth notes. I'd rather just do like a real melody and give myself a chance of being able to work with something new out of the break. Notice you're loading a channel strip now of the piano that I love to use. It's the stock piano in the Apple XS24, and just put tons of delay and reverb on it, and basically you end up with something that sounds just really big, and it works. It sounds like a ridiculous. The reverb's a little bit too long, but it sounds really good in clubs, and yeah, and it's all about that Arts acoustic reverb. And this would be piano. Last note was wrong, but I guess that's good enough as it's just a... Cute, fills space, and it'll go with the melody pretty well. And we have another lead here, this is lead 2. I think this is the same exact thing, just a very, very side chained. It's cute. Let's actually make it even bigger and then sidechain it again. So we just make it almost 100% reverb. Could be interesting. Now we just sidechain the hell out of that. think the piano is not the right. Yeah, okay. Okay. I guess the next step would be trying to write a new melody over that same progression. You know what, I'm going to skip the melody just because that's going to take way too much time. That's something I've been known to take days to write one melody, so we'll skip that particular part now. Let's get more basics in. Go with more sound effects, I think. And also I'd like to load in some, obviously we have our explosion and crashes, and these are the ones that dissipate to the time that comes after it, but we need also sound effects that lead in for certain transitions. So let's go a little bit of hunting here. Good, but it'll need to be cut down dramatically. Two is fine. We'll just chop this down. It's pretty easy usually, just to cut it down and then get everything lined up. Yeah. And this creates an audio fade and just a non-destructive fade on the audio file. Cubase users have the advantage here because you can just draw handles on the parts, which is nice. I think we'll still definitely need some kind of normal acid to bring us out of this little mini break anyway. Let's use the virus because it's the one thing that is, well, it's good at a couple things, but the acids on the virus are the best. This is just a normal virus. Very, very high resonance acid type sound. Very PVD-ish. This could work. Let's see. I'm gonna put the new acid out into a different output onto the aux channel, so this way it'll actually be easier to control. The cool thing about the virus is that you don't have to shoot everything out into one channel on your mixer. They give you 3 stereo pairs. It should be 16 stereo pairs because they didn't use FireWire connection, they used USB, but whatever. So basically all your 16 channels of MIDI on the virus are bottlenecked into 3 channels on your mixer. So basically you gotta just kind of group it that way. What a lot of people I know do is they'll have one channel of stuff that's not side-chained, one stuff that is side-chained, and maybe something else for maybe a bass channel or something like that off the virus. And it's basically the most flexibility you're gonna get out of this. Unless you do all your mixing directly in here, but you still need the side-chain, so. So we'll go straight to, so this should still play. That's fine. And just do a slight side chain compression on it, just to keep it in stride. It's not really interfering with the kick drum. Actually, side chain. It's okay there. Yeah, that's about what we're looking for. Let's see how this actually works. Big trouble cutting through. Let's just, I'm gonna have to really overdrive it. Still think it's gonna cut through. That'll fill some space for now, I think. And I can always go back and tweak it whenever I like. I'll just add a little bit of automation so it rides up and down. That should work just for now. And for some more space with these other sound effects. At this point, this is just these are all my samples I have loaded currently, and it's really not even that much at all, especially for a remix at this point. For this thing, what I'm doing right here is just changing the anchor point, so this way the audio file locks with on your tempo on your grid here, so it locks with it at the end of the sample as opposed to at the beginning. It's good for with your lead-in sounds and whatnot. That's going to be a really better much better sample. Let's see. Just a really long delay, I suppose. Okay. Too much mids and lows, but other than that, sounds okay. Maybe even a bit of panning. Better. Okay. How would this work? Let's try to do something that's in there. Turn off the audio edition here. It's a little bit nuts. Nope, not wild about that at all. Now I can just it's always better to label as you go along, and I actually forget to label so many times, and I end up waiting till basically when I just master the track to label all my tracks, just so if I need to come back to anything, I know what it is. But yeah, I'm pretty horrible at that. You should always do it. I don't even know what I'm looking at half the time. Okay, that's that. Okay. guess we'll start working the transition into the break. Okay, now at this point I'm going to take my drums and bus them all to the same bus so we can filter the drums separately. I'll put the filter on it and then bus these all to bus 8. There's no rhyme or reason to how I bus things. I usually just bus my drums to bus 8. Just don't know why I do that. Clean, give it a low pass 24. So now as we transition into the break, we just filter the drums down as we go. I have to create a track for that bus actually. I guess we'll use that second lead sample that we had, and I guess we'll just filter that in as well, because now this part with the melody, obviously the intro part and the main section of this track is kind of like a weird relation between the two of them, so we're just going to have to just kind of build it down and start it right up from the low point. This could work with some sounds and stuff. That'll work, I guess. Now I just need the other bass. Let this start the second time, because it's still awkward with that bass change. Okay, that can be a bit louder, I guess. That should come in later. I guess the same story for the other lead. The other lead's going to come in pretty abruptly, I think. So do the same exact thing, filter it in very slow. Maybe we'll use a high pass. No, I'll stick with low. straight to clean. It's so funny, their initial setting is so useless. They should stick, that's one thing. You always have to reset the setting, but it's fine. Okay. I'm just labeling these original lead and original lead 2 so I know that those are the audio for that. So let's start automating the filter frequencies. Oh wow, moving that quick along, okay. My approach is basically just kind of set something up for like a more massive kind of drop in. Try to take that. I'm going to take a kick and use it as an effect at this point. For an explosion, I just take the kick drum, very simple. Take one kick and put a ton of reverb on it. That should be fine, I guess. Bounce it, re-import it. Okay. Let's see now. That sounded really awkward. That was a huge delay on the kick. Okay, that's fine. Let me try that piano, I guess, next. I'm just gonna keep extending the loops. Okay, that's good. I'm just gonna crash through again there. Create it's an extra mid bass. Let that go with the bass line. It might be a good idea. Just create a bit more rhythm in a place where there's no drums. Saving it real quick. Save. Okay, so now you have the two leads layered. You're gonna have the bass line and the break here when this comes actually. And typically I'll go and add another melody or two, just keep building up the melodic elements. I'm not really sure where I'm going to take this track, if I'm going to go for a straight, like more pounding acidy after the break type thing, or if I'm going to write a new melody for it. But either way, it's going to be more, it's a couple more days work just to flesh out the more melodic elements of the track. I think percussion-wise, I think we still have some more work to do as well, but the basics are in and they're fun to play with as far as the filter goes and whatnot. All right, for this next bit, I'm going to show you something out of myself and Simon Patterson's track, Something's Up, which was released just about a year ago. A lot of emails come in and people are always asking how we made the bass line that comes in after the break on that track, because it's really, really dirty, really gritty. It's similar to that, Benassi type Satisfaction style bass, but it's a lot edgier and a lot more layers to it. So the simple answer is we just used 4 different bass lines to make the bass. It was either 3 or 4. So basically I'm going to take it and I'll show you what's making each of the layers and how you tie them all together. So basically you'd have the build-up coming in from here. Yeah, it's 4 layers. This is the bass here. So basically I'll solo out that. Should have them all on the bus. Like that. So this would be one bass. Very, very, just almost brittle in a way, but it does add extra texture to the bass. Then you got this one, the deep one. And you have absolutely ridiculous edge style bass. I'll tell you what each of these ones are in a second. I think I got killed on a pitch bend here. Let's try it again. And that's the main meat of the bass. So okay, so this particular synth, this is the main part of it. This is just an ES2. It's a single saw oscillator. Very simple sound, pitched way down. Then it goes through Ohm Force Ohmicide, which is an amazing distortion unit. Gets really much broken down to bits. I mean, without the homicide on it, it's a completely different sound. Then channel EQ, just to kind of boost a little bit of the low mid, a little bit of the low highs. Side chaining, so this way, the pitch bend again. Good enough. And okay, for a good example, this is another example of the Renaissance bass as well. Without this on it, it just doesn't sound as good. I mean, I like with the Renaissance bass on it. It's a bit warmer because we're gonna be making up for the high mids and the highs anyway with the other basses. And yeah, that's basically it for that particular sound. That's that layer. This is the secondary layer, the electro deep one. What is this? This is just the deep sub off the V station. Also a very, very simple sound. It's a 2 oscillator saw wave bass. One oscillator, 1 octave under the other. Way down, filter way down, resonance up a bit, and you get the basic sound. I filtered off all the additional highs with an EQ, so this way you only get the bass end of it, and it's also sidechained to the kick or to the kick tapped, as I explained earlier. So that's just an extra layer. This sounds made by the ES2. Also a very simple sound as well. It's 1 sawtooth oscillator, filtered down a bit. I'm guessing just with a bit more resonance. That was it. And that was just for the extra texture. Also sidechains. It's very important that all of these are sidechained because all of them together is going to be really, really messy for the mix. So if you just sidechain it to the kick and it gets the pumping going on. It's only used in one small section of the track anyway, so that's what we figured. We might as well just leave it. Leave them sidechained because it creates a lot of rhythm in just this section. That's all we needed. This is the other bass. This one's playing off of Vanguard. And it's a sound, I think it's off the presets in Vanguard, as a matter of fact. But yeah, as you can hear that the tone in it is very different from the other synths you're going to get out of like the ES2, ES1, V Station, or even Virus. It's just a unique sound. It doesn't sound amazing, but with the conglomeration of a bunch of sounds, it just really helps. And that's also going through just an EQ and sidechain compression. Let's see, there's one other sound that I'm totally missing here. Here we go. And here's the one that gives it all the edge. This is probably the one that most people are going to want to know which synth that is. So let's see. It's the V Station. And this sound is basically... how is that sound made? Okay, this is a FM type sound. So that really aggressive ripping sound is made because it's using FM synthesis on the 3rd oscillator. If you turn up the FM, it's going to sound quite different. So you get a totally different sound if you turn up the FM. And you actually, even if you turn more, it's all different textures. I love the FM stuff because it actually creates it's a really unique metallic edge. It's almost on the verge of distortion, but it's not. It's just a different texture. So then to hear it all come into the mix again. That's another section. And these sounds just basically just wait there for you. All the orange ones are all the basses. And that's how that ends up sounding in the final mix. And actually, before this track, I was never a big fan of layering leads and layering basses together. I figured, I was kind of a lazy producer. I just don't want to. I was always kind of a lazy producer. I didn't want to you spend too much time making one particular sound. But if you layer and spend the time doing it, you're going to get a sound that nobody else has, and everybody's going to ask you, where'd you make that sound? What synth is that made on? And when the answer is actually not as easy as just one simple synth, it actually feels a lot better. So the next thing I'll show you how to layer the leads, and this is also layering, but it's a little bit simpler. It's only 2 layers, but how to layer and affect the leads on my track Verano, my remix of Vescotia Verano that I've just recently finished. Okay, so I'll load up this melody. You can hear what the melody sounds like from literally where it first starts getting filtered in, and you can get a feel for the sound of it. It's not much different from most standard trance leads, but it's just got a nice, really very rhythmical, and even when there's not a beat playing, you can still kind of dance to it. I'll give you a head start. The 2 leads, the 2 synths that are layered together are the ES2 out of Logic and the Axis Virus. In a club, that is pretty brutal. So, and it sounds better when everything else is in the mix as well. So let's just take a look and see what they actually look like as far as patches and effects go. The first one is the Virus one, so we'll load that up. And that sound, this actually is the lesser of the 2. I would say the ES2 is the main one. I think the ES2 does a better job. The Axis one fills the holes, like the frequency holes, so to speak, that the ES2 will leave behind, and kind of just makes it a much, much fatter lead. So obviously you have the way the notes are sequenced and whatnot are relatively short. And it's oscillator-wise, it's very simple to hear. It's 3 oscillators, all saws, unison mode detuned, pretty reasonably, 5 voice. And then of course you have the normal effects like a clock tape delay, one going to 3/4 and one going to 3/16 and one going to 4/16, and you have a long haul reverb on it. Fairly standard for any trance, big, super saw type lead. But I still put another reverb on it also just to kind of get it to mesh better with the other synth, the lead off the ES2. And this one's the one off the ES2. And as you can hear, the Virus one was a little bit warmer. This is a little bit more thinner and brittler. So that's exactly why you kind of need to layer the 2 together and you get this really good texture. With only one of them, it wouldn't work. And that's the same exact MIDI. In fact, I think I actually layered in an extra layer of bass notes just to kind of try to give it a little bit better bass warmth, but didn't really work too well, thus the Virus is with it. And then, the effects on this is a little bit more lavish. I gave it the just standard channel EQ, filtered off some of the bass, and then then it gets a little too big on the other side. Own Boys, again, the same simple delay, low pass filter, LFO, preset. Probably the most overused preset in all of trance of any synth or effect, but so what? It works good. Stereo delay, that came after that, just to even further space it out on the left and the right. And normally, I didn't do it here, but normally when I do set stereo delays, if your delays lets you change the percentage of where it sits, like normally it'll say like 50%. So just so, if there's any way you can make it so it's not exactly an 8th note or a 16th note or a 3/4 note, you just kind of move it over. Like the way Logic works is if I want a 8th note, if I want a 3/4 note, then basically I just gotta move put it on 8th note setting and move over the slider to 75%. So basically, just to keep it from phasing, so that the 2 notes don't align in the course of their delays, I'll shift it back from 75% to 74.66. And on the other side, if it's just an 8th note and you don't want that to phase, and I think it's really important, especially on leads like this, where it already sounds like a bit phased, you shift the 50 over to 50.33, or 333, and it'll help your delays, and it'll help everything really sit a lot better. It's a tiny, tiny little detail, but it'll actually help your delays sound a little bit better. Let's see what else. Then after that, we have the standard reverb again, Arts Acoustic popping up, still my favorite. And I don't normally use limiters on synth channels. I kind of let the limiter on the master be the one, but on this one I kind of use it because that synth was getting a little bit unwieldy with all the effects on it. So I just put a limiter on it. Not to really do much, just to push it up a bit into a ceiling. That was it. And then compressor after that, just to sidechain it a bit. after all was said and done. So this way it never really interferes with the kick. And that's basically that for that particular lead. All right, and on the same track, I'm now going to show you the way I've done the layering of the bass lines for the same track. It's actually not even 1 or 2 or 3 layers this time. It's actually 6. So I'll show you what they each sound like. Well, first I'll show you what it's going to sound like first. So you'll hear it drop in a second here. So I was to whittle that down and get them all. Okay, everything in. I'm still missing one somewhere. I know where it is. I think I'm still missing a sub bass. There's an acid that's also going to the same channel. That's not good. But okay, let's figure that. Bass main. That's funny. Ah, there we go. Okay, so this is the main sub of the bass line. Obviously, just relatively simple pattern, as you can see. When it comes through off of, when you step through it one by one. It gets side chained a bit, so this way the kick bass and the kick bass tail is not really fighting with these because these notes are much longer. Then we have this other bass, which is probably the secondary sub bass. It's not very subby, it doesn't go all the way down, but if you hear that, actually, that's one of Logic 9.02's new bugs. It doesn't shut the notes off when you press stop. You have to do it manually. But if you press play again, it stops. So this is the other one. It's got a little bit more bass than the other mid basses, a tight bit of edge, and it's kind of weird because I never put reverb on basses, but since there's no sub, I figured there's no damage, and that's why I just kind of I've used this bass on a couple of tracks as mid bass, and I'm always really happy with the result. It always kind of creates this kind of extra kind of rhythm that goes underneath, and it's really subtle. Most people don't even hear it and really realize it's there, but it helps a lot. Then the other basses are more kind of on a straight up, on a high mid rhythm. So this one's off the Virus. You can do a ton of stuff with this particular bass. Okay, so basically you can either adjust all different things. And like I said, in isolation, all these basses sound relatively boring, but when it's all going together, it's a nice mess. This is more decoration. This is what I call more of just a decoration for it, but it also functions really, really well. This is an ES2, very high resonance type bass with all the bass, of course, filtered right off of it. Resonance pumped up and stereo delay coming through. I think there's a phaser on it as well. Yeah, there's also a phaser on it to give it the extra movement through the whole thing. And it works really, really well. This is not really a part of the bass line, but it actually does, it fits in with the basses because it progresses the same way with all the stuff, so I kind of left it in with the basses. And there's still one more layer of the bass. Oh, by the way, that bass is that's also the V station, also on that very high FM setting to give it that kind of weird, crazy edge. I don't want to say weird, crazy edge, more like metallic edge. And this is the one off the Vanguard. It's also going to just very standard stuff, just a stereo delay, a sidechain compressor, and then just an additional EQ to shave off some extra frequency areas. The very, 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 very digital sounding lead. And most of it. I'm actually fattening up anymore. So that's basically that. So then when you start layering them all together. I just turned my sidechain trigger on, so now actually it's working quite well. And we get the kick and stuff in with that. And that's basically how that bass fits into play.